Glad to be back. Glad Indomitian's finally in and signed the contract. Be a Ram. So welcome to the Rams.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, another great day for us. Being able to add a player of his caliber is something that we feel really good about. We feel like from visiting with him, and then obviously, you just look at the production as a player, getting to know the person. We feel like this is going to be a really good match. He's going to be a great addition to our defensive front, being able to play with guys like Jaren and Michael Brockers. I think some of the things that are really impressive about what Indomitian's been able to do over the course of his career, started in, played in 126 games, and he started 126 games. So he's the epitome of durability, over 50 career sacks, and he is a sharply dressed fellow today, man. So that being said, we're glad to have him.
Kind of looks like you, Steve.
I got a long way to go. Pull over there. I guess.
Make a statement. Make a statement.
I think the biggest thing is I got to thank God and my family. First and foremost, great opportunity for from Les to the Rams, the Cronkies, and Coach McVay. Definitely excited about the opportunities here. Really fortunate. Just looking at the overall scheme, I think everybody looks at everything on paper. And I would say we're in pretty good shape on paper, but we have a lot of things to prove. And really myself, I always play with a chip on my shoulder, and that's really kind of my focus, is to come in here and put in a lot of work and make sure that I prove my worth and kind of go from there.
I'm Jim Hill, Channel 2 here. First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
To the Rams. The opportunity to play with Aaron Donald make this decision a lot easier for you?
I wouldn't say it made me easier. I think it's definitely a plus. There's a guy that's at a very elite level, excited, and I always go back to my probably 2014 season, being blessed to be in Detroit and playing with some of the great guys there. So understanding this game is ultimate team game. You got to have guys next to you, behind you, and in front of you that you got to work with in practice. At the same time, in games, you got to have those guys that can help you be successful.
So was this decision a relatively easy one for you?
As I said before, I don't think any decision of this magnitude is easy. There was a lot of other great teams that I had offers from and had an opportunity to join, but I think this was the best fit for me.
Welcome back to the West Coast, sir.
Thank you.
I got a question. Cam Buford, LA News Observer. To tag onto what Jim said, playing with an elite caliber talent like Aaron Donald, what do you expect to bring out in your game, or what would you like to bring out in his game to make this a better team or in a better fit?
It's tough for me to answer that question. I understand where you're going from it, being able to have two elite players next to each other. I would, again, go back and look at some of the other previous situations I've been in. But first and foremost, I'm going to start in OTAs and practices. Understanding how he likes to rush, how I like to rush, how we play the run together. And that's when it will all unfold from there to see how we mesh together. And I think it would be an exciting time and process to get through that.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
There's Steve White. I was on your visit here. You sat down, you watched film with the coaching staff, just to kind of see where you fit in Wade's scheme, and what kind of swung you in this direction? Because you look at you yourself, Brockers and Donald, and how you fit on that front. It's not in your traditional hard 34, but where you kind of fit in there. Inside guy, outside guy.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up Michael Brockers. Just, he felt left out in the last two questions. Sorry about that, Indomitian.
No problem. Well, I'll start with this. Michael Brockers, I look forward to playing next to him as well. I've watched him on film and have respect for him. But to answer your question and really being able to be fortunate enough to watch film with the coaches on my visit was key and something that I wanted to do, and it was important for me each place I took a visit to watch film and see and talk to the coaches and see how they see me fitting in. The interesting thing about Coach Phillips is that I've seen him in Dallas and seen him in other places and do very successful things, and with multitude of different athletes and different players at elite levels, everything in between. So I think it's hard for me to answer that question because I think he'll create a package of what's best for every single guy that he has in his organization and for his front, and then in addition from the back end as well.
Hey, Doctor. At this point in your career, what made you open to signing a one-year contract? viewing teams like this? And did the Rams' success last season change your perception of them at all?
I think for me, how I look at it is I wanted to prove myself. And I think they want me to come in here and prove myself that I'm worthy of being here and staying here for the long stay. I think the overall goal is to focus on this particular year, which is the most important thing in front of us. And like you said, they had a very successful year last year in the regular season. And I believe I can be of help to get them over some of the humps. But at the end of the day, it's all of us as a unit that have to get that done from offense, defense, special teams, and really going from there.
I'm Ashley Brewer with ABC. Were you aware last season when you were in Miami of the dramatic turnaround that was happening here in Los Angeles with the Rams and what they were able to do? Were you kind of following that?
Yeah, I definitely saw it. I think the most notable piece was the unfortunate fires that took place, but definitely saw their offense. And as I said, I watch other players, AD, Brockers, all the other players around their defensive line more specifically, but just everybody in the league. Just I like to see what guys are doing and be able, if I can pick up things and learn from them, I'm more than happy to.
Dominican, you had a reputation earlier in your career at Detroit for sometimes overly aggressive play. Coach McVay indicated during the owners' meetings that he had talked to you about it, you had acknowledged it, and had kind of put it past you. What would you say to LA fans who only know you by reputation?
I think reputation is something that you create in your own, but also gets skewed in a lot of different ways for other people's opinions. I would say to anybody and all the fans, just come up to me as a normal human being, ask me who I am, and get to know and have a conversation with me. And leave it as that simple. That's what Coach McVay did, and I think that's why we hit it off from day one.
Do you think that reputation was skewed? Do you think it has been skewed?
I definitely think everybody's reputation is skewed. I don't think you can know any particular person unless you've been in their shoes and been around them 24/7, 365 to know exactly who that person is.
Now I know there's been a lot of talk about you specifically playing nose tackle. Do you have any experience specifically playing at nose tackle on the defensive line, or how much have you moved around just throughout your career?
I think I've been very fortunate in my career, in my 8 years in the league, but more so going back to high school and really going back to college. I started out playing defensive end in high school. Moving into college, I played a lot of 3 technique, 2 technique, played some shade as well. And then over the last probably 5 years or so, between Miami and Detroit, to get me out of double teams and kind of being in the trash, I played every single position, every single technique that's really possible, and sometimes we even created our own.
You mentioned that you and Shawn McVay hit it off. What were some of the things that were so appealing about him and the way he coaches that made you want to play for him?
I think his biggest fan is a very close friend of mine. And so having conversations and without speaking to him, I heard a lot of great things about him and really the organization as a whole. And then really just being able to meet with him and sit down with him face to face, have dinner, and talk. I mean, he's a genuine, transparent human being, and that's what I love, no matter who you are, but especially as a football coach.
We've heard a fair amount about the dinner at Nobu. What was that like for you and with Stan Kroenke and then obviously with everybody else at the table?
It was a great dinner. Had a ton of fun, and really just was an opportunity to just kind of let loose and have fun and eat good food. It's a great place. I've been there before, and great views, to say the least. And it was really just a time to just hang out and get to know each and every person outside of the building, which I think is always important.
How much sushi until you're full?
I'm more of a sashimi guy, so I try and stay away. The rice and me being a little bit of a health nut is a little too much rice for me with the sushi.
Les and Shawn, his willingness to come here on a 1-year deal, is that what made this happen essentially, and what did that tell you kind of about his intentions in picking a team?
Well, I think I'll start with really the years, weren't necessarily a factor because we talked with Indomitian and his representation about different options in terms of contract. But I think what we wanted to do, because Indomitian did have choices, was bring him in and let him meet with Shawn, our staff, and just make sure, guess what, it's a fit. And because anytime someone has options, you want them to be jacked about the option that they pick, and we wanted to bring him in and meet him, get to know him, and show him what we're about, and get to know what he's about.
Yeah, that's the one thing I think, you guys have kind of all touched on it briefly, but when he came in, very thorough. He asked great questions. You could see that he had done his homework on the people in the building, the system. He was familiar with some of the things that Wade and our coaching staff on defense had done. Wanted to see kind of what we envision for him as far as his role is, and that's something that, like he's mentioned, is to be determined. We feel like there's a starting point, but I think when you have good players like we've mentioned, that have some position flex, if there's one thing that Coach Wade and Coach Johnson and our defensive staff do an excellent job of, it's finding a way to put our players in good spots and get those matchups that we want across the board. And specific to the pass rush, now being able to add a player of his caliber with the, in addition to some of the other guys we already have on board, it's an exciting challenge for us as coaches. And, that's what you want to hear that he mentioned from the very beginning is it's about one day at a time. Let's focus on just continuous improvement, developing a standard, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Les and Shawn, you talked throughout the offseason as you've made the trades and signed free agents that there's going to be plenty of, you guys had room to do all this. Today you released Kayvon Webster. Can you tell us a little bit about why that move was made? Did it have to do with salary cap space, and are there more moves coming?
Well, anytime you release a player that was very important part of us winning the NFC West, it's a tough situation, but really keep the reasons in-house. And the NFL is a business, so each day is a day upon itself, but you don't want to go through that. You have to do it sometimes, and that's what we had to do today.
Yeah, it's a tough situation because of the respect you have for Kayvon. I think when you just look at what he was brought in to do, being able to come in, he was a legitimate starter, did a great job of being a productive player for us. Really, his experience in Denver, he was really a great special teams player, and then when he got his opportunities, he put great stuff on tape. And for Kayvon, we're very appreciative and thankful for what he brought to us this past year. I was able to spend a good bit of time with him, and I'm thankful for the relationship, and that's something that'll continue on, and we wish him nothing but the best. And these are always tough decisions, but ones that sometimes you have to be able to make, but there's still a human element to it that you wish him the best, and I'll be a fan of Kayvon Webster's moving forward.
All right, we'll have Mr. Suh here for a couple one-on-one.